kiss you.
Thanks, Joe.
Yeah! You want to run or you want to duck down? You want to duck, just go over and get onto the bench and stay there.
You play to win the game.
My message for the fans, we're all frustrated with where we are right now.
Jets, Jets.
Well, all right, everybody. Welcome to the Thursday thick of it as we tick down toward the complete and utter domination of the 49ers on Monday Night Football Week 1. That is Dom C. I am GreenBean, and we're just going to jump right in, Dom. We're going to bring on a very special friend. How do you feel about that, Dom?
He is special.
Oh,
I'm just joking.
You should have maintained it. That was
a
good.
guy that's very, very hard not to like if you know him, if you listen to him, if you watch him, like I'm sure most of you do, because he's got 333 billion subscribers on YouTube.
Just shy of that. He's hoping to get to 333 billion by opening day.
That's right. I heard he's going to funnel Hennessy. A full bottle of Hennessy if he gets to 333 billion.
Once he gets there. Well, let's do it. Let's jump right in. A guy whose father I've hung out with more than him for some reason. Let's say hello to the one and only Jake.
Yeah, there we go.
Baby, this is what it's all about. The Henny, the flag, Jets football, GreenBean, Dom C. I mean, I'm pumped, gentlemen. Let's go.
Yes, let's go. That's right.
This is going to be fun. Jake, appreciate you coming on, hanging out, carving out some time with us. Gunny will be here in a little while, so it'll be the whole gang. We'll have a nice time. I love the hat. I want to say, I think, for many years, I don't know if you know this, Jake, but I was a comedian for a long time. I used to travel around and do that whole thing. But my look was one of those, what are they called? Fishing hats?
Bucket hats.
Yeah.
Bucket. So I looked like I didn't look as good. I didn't have an Asmaniac logo. Mine had a New York Yankees logo on it.
Love that.
You're looking sharp. How you doing tonight?
I'm good, guys. I'm fired up. 11 days, right, until the season starts for our Jets. So it's been a long off season. It's been a long year just going through everything we went through last year, just knowing that we basically relived the same season twice, although last year was worse because you had it all ripped away so quick. But we're almost there, man. And I remember leaving MetLife and driving home the night after the opener last year, just thinking I can't go through another year of this, man. It's going to take forever to get to where we are right now. So we're almost there. So I can't wait.
Yeah, it's really something, it's like when you have a portion of the season and things fall apart and it is what it is. But when it happens, play 4 and you're you already know, you're oh my God, I have to endure this entire season and the offseason just to get back here. It is brutal. But here's the good news. We're here. We're back. Yeah. This is exciting stuff. Yeah. Now, Jake, let me ask you, do you feel Robert Saleh came out? I don't know if it was yesterday or today. He said he feels like this is a better team than last year and that last year's adversity, he's an adversity guy, which I do appreciate. But he said he really does feel like this team, because of last year, is in a better position to succeed this year. You buying that shit, or is it just coach speak?
I am buying it a little bit just because I've heard Saleh give various interviews this summer. It's really not in the press conferences. It's more so in his radio spots. He did a great interview on Bart and Hahn on ESPN New York 2 weeks ago. I thought his hit, even on the competition station, WFAN, he was very forthright and recognizing how lucky he is to basically still have a job. That 4 years in, very few coaches with 3 straight losing years get the opportunity to get a 4th season. And I think he understands that. I think the messaging this summer has been a lot better. They've been more focused on just the day-to-day stuff and not the big picture and not talking about, the Super Bowl and being one of the teams that can win it. Other than really Aaron, who could say it because he's won a Super Bowl. You really haven't heard that from many players or coaches, which I love. And I don't know. I do get a sense that Saleh learned a lot from last year, especially. I think the Jets as an organization are just much better prepared to go into this year than they were last year for the adversity they went through. So I'm hopeful, man. I mean, I'm a fan, so I'm trying to be positive because if you can't be positive now, like, what's the point? We just saw how quickly it'd all be ripped away from us. So I'm trying to enjoy the moment, but I do think, from a coaching standpoint with Salah, I do think he has the chance to be a good coach. He needs Aaron to be healthy. That's really the bottom line.
He needs a damn quarterback. You know what I mean? He just needs a quarterback. Now you bring up, what we're talking about here with Salah kind of maybe learning and a chance to be a good coach. It brings us into week 1. Now I'd like to take this opportunity and talk about our sponsor for the show, BetUS. They have the official lines. Now lines are subject to change as things go on and got players are signed or injuries, whatever it might be. But as it stands right now, Jake, BetUS, which is offering a 125% bonus on your first 3 deposits up to $2,000, has released the opening day line for the New York Jets. Now I always tell everybody I'm an AC-doocy guy. I'm a Red Dog guy. So I look at the first thing I always look at is the over-under. Now, 44 is the over-under. We have the 49ers and the New York Jets, 2 defensive teams. If you had to right now, what side of that are you on? You taking the over, you taking the under?
I would take the under because I just think you look at these 2 teams, defense is typically ahead of the offense. Even without Hassan Reddick, if he doesn't play, I still think this Jets defense is top 5. The Niners defense is outstanding. I could see it being a lower scoring game. I think there'll be points, but I could see like long sustained drives for both teams. Like the Jets trying to run the ball a lot, which kills clock. I mean, that's kind of like the staple of like a Rodgers-led offense anyway. The 2 MVP years Aaron recently had, you look at the time of possession, Green Bay was number 1 in the NFL in both years. So that's kind of what they do, which kind of leads towards an under when you talk about really good defenses on both sides. So, I can see this game, kind of being in the low 20s, which would get you just under that 44. So I would lean under, but, watch, this game will end up being like 35-31. Who knows?
Yeah, I think I'm an under guy too. I think this one reeks of defensive, I don't want to say dominance, but a major defensive impact. Dom, if I put a gun to your head, over under, what are you taking?
Rationally, I agree with you guys. I think that 44, I could see a game like 20-17 or something like that. Yeah. But, if I was betting, I mean, and I haven't bet on sports in a long time, probably since my bachelor party in Las Vegas, which I've been married 15 years. Probably the last time I put an actual bet down on a football game. I do remember, man, it is no fun betting the under. You want to root for points and excitement.
I'm telling you.
You're in the sports book. It's not like, come on, 3 and out and punt. No, you want to be like touchdown. So for that matter, from my heart, I want to bet the over, but my head tells me, the under probably makes sense. Now, I think the opposite side, I think the spread is interesting. Do you think Ayuk signing now?
Well, that's what I was just going to say. So Ayuk signed. He got paid. He weathered the storm. He denied the trades. He played hardball, and he gets what he wants. So, I mean, you think that's going to – there it is, Jake.
Hello? This is Brandon Ayuk here.
Jake, is that prop money or is that real?
Oh, no, this is real. I just walk around with thousands and hundreds all the time, baby.
Does it say as maniacs on it?
You know what? That'd actually be a great idea. I got to work on that.
Can I tell you a story? Not to derail the amazing BetUS ad here, but Jake, back in the day when I used to work props I worked props on The Sopranos, on Third Watch, on Law and Order SVU, and they have prop money. So, and I was in props, so we had these bins of cash, but like where it says like, the treasury guy or whatever, it would say Sopranos on it. Wow. And back in the days, I was a drug addict, and I would go to the street and I would cop all sorts of things, cocaine, crack, heroin, things like that. And one day it worked all the time. And then one day I handed it to somebody in my car. It was a bunch of dudes, and he realized right away it was fake. And he jumps in my car and he grabs me by the throat. And the guy in front of me takes an ironing board, Jake. And he was like, with an ironing board, he's going to throw it through my car. And they made me give them, I had like probably $15,000 in Sopranos money, and they made me give it all to them, even though it was fake. They said, we want all of it, just in case there's a real dollar in there. but I got away alive. And now I'm GreenBean. So what do you think of that? So be careful with the prop as maniac money, Jake. That's what I'm trying to say.
GreenBean, I've heard you tell some great stories on your channel on Talking Jets. That is one of the craziest stories ever. You got to write like a book or something. I got to get you on like a long form podcast, man. And just tell
that's
stories.
probably the light. That's probably a real light one too. I mean,
that was just Tuesday at lunch.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I'd be terrified. I can't believe you used fake money for a job. That's insane, man. That's crazy.
Oh yeah. But hey, when you're in that place, you'll do all sorts of weird things.
Yeah.
But so guys, if you want to jump in and consider some of the things we've said, this is not betting advice, of course, or financial advice, but just our thoughts. You can click the link in the description of this video.
Touchdown.
Hold on, Dom. I'm in the middle of something here, buddy. Sorry. Click the link in the description to get your 125% bonus on your first 3 deposits up to $2,000. And I thank BetUS for sponsoring the Thursday Thick of It for the 2024 season. So, all right, Dom, which, by the way, I talked about Jake's amazing hat. You're wearing quite the shirt there, sir.
You like that, don't you?
I do.
It's nice.
So what is that? A Jet shirt? That's a Jet.
It is a Jet shirt. It's a nice Hawaiian. I don't know, the Tommy Bahama. Is that the name brand? I don't know. My wife bought it for me.
There you go. Your wife buys.
And I literally just reached in the drawer earlier and I said, I haven't worn this thing in like 2 years. I'm going to put it on.
I love it. I think you look good. So now what were you screaming about?
I watched the touchdown. Shador Sanders to Travis Hunter. Probably 2 first-round picks right there.
All right. Well, there, Jake, you watching the game?
I have it on. You're very far ahead of me, Dom. You celebrated touchdown. I was still like 2 plays later. I have direct TV streaming. It's so slow.
Yeah. I go YouTube TV, baby. That's the way. That's the only way I roll around here. That's how we roll.
Now let's do this real quick. So there's a Bronco fan in the I want to say welcome. He seems to be coming with peaceful intentions. So we welcome
Zach
Bronco.
Wilson sucks. Sorry.
Well, let me get to his other. Wait, where is it? He had a different. Here it is. Hey, I'm new here. Really excited about Zach. I'm trying to figure out why the Jets let him go. He looked fantastic in preseason. Now, we've seen Zach look fantastic in preseason. We've seen Zach look fantastic in games. It happens. The kid, he's a talented athlete. Jake, what you saw, game 3 particularly in the preseason, did it make you regretful about Zach Wilson? Is Broncos forever? Is he about to get paid, as we say?
Broncos forever. I have a funny feeling might have gone by the name Jets forever not that long ago. I'd like to start with that.
That's funny.
But
I did see Jets forever last night. I was just flipping through Richie's stream. There's Jets forever. He is still alive. Yeah, he's still alive.
Is he still in the Shadow Realm on the Jake Asman show?
Yeah, we had a deal like he wouldn't until Denzel Mims scores a touchdown in a regular season game. He's banned from my show.
Oof, it's going to be a minute.
Yeah,
poor Mimsy.
I might have to add the UFL as like a stipulation to give him a chance.
Yeah. Oh my God, I know, right? You're like, dude, in any league, it could be Pee-wee, anything, just a touchdown.
Bad football league like Quantez Stiggers. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. The fan league. So did it freak anybody out watching Zach Wilson get all comfortable and throwing dimes down the field? I will say I watched the game. I saw some. What's interesting about Zach Wilson, and then I promise we'll move on from him. But when there's no pressure, and I mean no pressure, and that's what you saw at BYU, he does look like he can relax. He's a good quarterback. The moment there's anybody around him, he does what he did in that game, and he throws it in the defensive lineman's chest. Mm-hmm. And that's the kind, and we saw some of that. So, any seller's remorse, Jake?
No, no, not at all. People think I hate Zach. I really don't. I hate his fans. Like Broncos forever. I probably can't stand you if you're Jets forever. The truthers bother me. Like the reality is like Zach, I don't think is a bad person, a bad kid. He just wasn't a good quarterback. Like it didn't work out. Like wasn't 100% all his fault, but he just wasn't good. It wasn't a good fit. And I'm glad he's not a Jet anymore, but I don't have any ill will towards him. I just don't think he's ever going to be, a starter in this league. Like I think he is at best a backup, and I think he's probably more of a number 3 than he is even a number 2. But, good for him. He made the team. I thought there was a chance he was going to get cut. It looks like he's on the initial 53 in Denver. So, I wish him all the best. I just don't think he's any good.
Yeah, and it's an interesting thing. Like, Broncos forever. If he was, like, you're looking at, like, why would they get rid of this guy? If he was really that good, he would be your starting quarterback. Like, nobody's going to go into the season, with their second best option if they believe that. So, hey, we'll see what it is. I'm really hoping that things collapse and Zach Wilson ends up being named the starter for week 4. I want nothing more than to watch him live for the Talking Jets meetup at MetLife Stadium against the Denver Broncos.
Could you imagine, GreenBean, and you guys will be there at your event. It's the one home game I can't get to, unfortunately. But could you imagine the Jet defense in a game that actually counts getting a chance to hit Zach Wilson, what they would do to him? It'd be nasty. I'd feel bad for him.
There's no collection of men on the planet that have a vendetta, have a desire to get payback than the New York Jets defense against Zach Wilson. And not like hate him as a man, right? Just like, oh boy, we're gonna make you the pain, dude. The pain. So I'm hoping that the football gods smile on us. We already saw them do their work up there in Minnesota. They made it so Sam Darnold is the starter. We get to play against him. We know we're going to play against Geno Smith. So if this is going to be the year that we all think is possible, in order for it to really maximize the sweetness, we're going to have to go on a previous quarterback revenge tour. Zach Wilson, Sam Darnold, Geno Smith, shut everybody up, smash their faces en route to the Super Bowl. That's what we're going to have to do. So I think the football gods are going to see it through and make it so Zach Wilson just happens to trot his ass on that field September 29th. It's going to be fantastic to get our revenge. Now, look, the big news right now, I think, and we'll talk about the 53 in a minute and the practice squad and the new Viking that decided to screw us. We'll do all that. But the big news, I think, is that Mike Williams, damn it, has been said that he is actually going to be ready and suit up for week 1. So, Jake, I'll start with you. I want to hear Dom's thoughts on this as well. Saleh said they have a plan for him. What do you see? Are you excited? Do you think we'll see anything meaningful? How do you see this one with Mike Williams being finally announced that he will, in fact, start the season as a player on the field for the Jets?
I can't wait. I think this guy is going to be really good. Now, I don't know if he's going to be, playing 100% of the snaps right away. I'm sure he'll be on like a reps count, like what they did with Brees at the beginning of last year. We can only hope he's as good as Brees was, by the way, in Brees' first game last year against the Bills. But look, I think this guy, just his presence out there opens things up, right? You got to account for him. He could run the fly route down the field, and that opens things up over the middle for Garrett in the slot or Conklin over the middle. So I just think what this guy brings in the red zone is going to be huge. What he brings on the back shoulder throw, Rodgers is maybe the best quarterback I've ever seen with that throw. And Williams is such a good back shoulder throw receiver that, like, I think Tyrod Taylor was the one who said this when they were teammates with the Chargers together. Like a 50-50 ball to Mike Williams is like an 80-20 ball. And you put Rodgers and his accuracy with Mike Williams, I think he's going to be really good. So I hope he stays healthy. It's great that he's going to be out there. And if he is out there, I think he's going to make some plays for this team. I wouldn't be surprised if he finds the end zone week 1.
Oh, man, I'd be excited. What are you seeing, Dom? How do you see this one playing out?
Well, listen, I'll say this. I'm happy to have Mike Williams on our team this year. I think he complements the other skill position players very, very well. A lot of it, what Jake just talked about. I think we need to kind of be mindful and pump the brakes on the amount of reps and or production that we might see early on, because I think they are going to be forced to ramp him up, more so for the fact that, like, one injury in that wide receiver room, no matter if it's Garrett or if it's Mike Williams or something like that, if they miss a substantial, amount of time, like, they're thin to begin with. So I think they're going to be extra cautious. I think the idea is, I don't really care. And this is how I see it in my mind. If I'm Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh, I don't really care about what happens in September, but I want Mike Williams to be full go come December. You know what I mean? So even if it's baby steps. I still think that the offense, call me crazy, is going to run through Breece Hall. And he's going to be the focal point of the offense. So maybe you get Mike Williams out there and get him in some real live game reps. Sure, you throw him the ball, but I don't know how much of that we're going to see. Like, I would set the over under in plays that Mike Williams sees week 1, probably around 20. Probably around 20.
Well, here's the thing, and let me ask you guys this: Mike Williams simply being on, all you have to do really is just put him out there and send him streaking down the sideline.
Decoy.
And that's enough. Right? He doesn't have to catch anything. His presence on the field, they have to respect it. And he's going to potentially even pull a safety with him. If he's just tearing down the sideline, he could make it real easy. Number one, we're not going to see, hopefully, as many stacked boxes as we've seen the past number of years. So that alone is going to loosen it up. But then you send Mike Williams out there streaking down the sideline, and it could make things, it could really make the environment a little bit more productive for a Garrett Wilson or even a Malachi Corley, the tight ends, running back out of the backfield in the passing game. Do you guys agree? You think just as a decoy, Jake, you think he would have his impact?
100%. I think Dom is spot on. Like, you got to account for him on every play. And if he takes the top off the defense, that opens up Garrett, Conklin, middle of the field. You're going to see his presence felt, because it just felt like last year it was too easy for teams to try and take Garrett Wilson out of games. Part of it was, no one had any respect for Zach Wilson. But the other part of it was, if you're going up against the Jets, you're not afraid of Allen Lazard. You're not afraid of Jason Brownlee or Xavier. Like, they didn't have a legit number 2. Mike Williams is probably one of the best, quote unquote, number 2 wide receivers in the league. He'd be a number 1 on some teams. He'd be the best receiver on the Buffalo Bills. So,
no doubt.
You look at what he could do, like, no doubt his presence will open things up for other players. And if he gets one-on-one on the outside and he's running a go route, Rodgers will take a chance. He'll throw it up and say, hey, let's take the top off the defense and see if we can get a big play here. Worst case, maybe we get PI on the play, and that could happen too. The Jets never take advantage of just throwing it dodownfield, and maybe you get pass interference. Rodgers is as good as anyone of all time at doing that, so that will help too.
Yeah, think of it this way. I mean, here's a nerd stat for you. For just under 4 out of every 5 plays, 79.4% of the time, the Jets faced a box that had 7 or more people in it last year. Now, that a lot of that has to do about the lack of respect for Zach Wilson. A lot of that has to do about the absolute sophomoric schemed offense that Hackett put out there yesterday, where nothing, there was no depth in any routes run, so on and so forth. So everything happened at the line of scrimmage or a couple yards past. And thirdly, you didn't have anybody to really threaten to take the top off the defense. Mike Williams and Aaron Rodgers is just that. You're not going to have Garrett Wilson bracketed high-low. Breece Hall's not going to have guys run blitz in every, in the first 2 downs of every time. Your offensive line obviously has changed, so that is all. The offense is going to look completely different, and Mike Williams plays a big part in that. Aaron Rodgers is the main focal point. You have to keep 2 safeties back with him there. You can't bring 7 and 8 guys in the box every time. 4 out of every 5 plays last season, the Jets had 7 or more guys in the box. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Now, let me just say this. Billy Buffalo, we welcome all fans, all kinds of buttholes in here, okay? We wave the flag of unity, but that's some bullshit. What is that? Why do we do that? You're the guy with players that are already out for the season. And we were kind, Milano. We didn't do that. So why don't you tone it down and be nice, you ugly bastard, you. So let's do this. We have another friend that is ready to join the show. He is primed. He is set up. He is better looking than GreenBean. Here he comes, Mr. Gunny Gumby. What's happening, my friend?
Gunny.
Gentlemen, what's good? Look at this cast of all stores right here, man. How y'all doing tonight, boys?
I'm good, Gunny. How are you, man?
I'm good. I'm just came back from the daughter's first volleyball game of the season.
How'd she do?
I'm glad to say she's the best player on the court, so I was very excited about that. You know what I'm saying? She's killing it.
Could Come on.
I mean, I expect nothing but, you know what I'm saying? But it's always nice when my expectations are met. So it was kind of awesome. So
right. Well, if you just tell her, if you want to eat, you got to be the best. Don't forget to be the best tonight.
That's
all.
facts. That's facts.
I
Otherwise, you're going to bed with no dinner tonight. You know what I'm saying? That's
right.
There's got to be consequences for failure, and she understands the game. But yeah, man, listening to you guys freaking chop it up, man. You guys are spitting some beautiful facts, man. Beautiful facts. Glad to be amongst this elite group of studs here.
Yeah. Now, Gunny, how you feeling about Mike Williams? We were talking a little bit about, number one, the fact that it was announced that he's going to be there, I think is exciting and best case scenario. But we were talking about maybe his impact not necessarily even needing to be as a focal point of the offense, just somebody who's out there. Do you agree? You think even as a decoy of sorts, he would still have an impact on the game?
I think it boils down to like how much of the playbook is he familiar with, right? Like he really hasn't had a chance to actually practice during training camp and get the timing down with Aaron Rodgers. He was on the sideline kind of watching the cadence count, all that good stuff. But it's really about how much of the playbook he's absorbed and how quickly he can implement that over these next couple of practices that he's going to have. Personally, I think now we see more and more that when he was talking about he was good to go, ready to go about a month and a half ago, I believe wholeheartedly he wasn't making that up. I know we've all been saying that he's going to be ready to go week one, but the New York Jets approach on making sure like they went above and beyond to make sure he was ready for week one. They didn't want to go ahead and stress him out. I think he's been ready to go, medically cleared for over a month now. So I think physically he'll probably be way better off than we actually are assuming because we're just now getting the news. But he told us this in the press conference just over a little over a month ago that he was ready to go. He was good to go. He's been cleared by everything. He's met the metrics, but he was following the program laid out for him by the Jets. So I love the approach. I love making sure that, he was 100%. Mike Williams being an individual who gets banged up quite a bit throughout the season, making sure he's 100% going in I love it. I think decoy. Yes, I think that potentially he'll probably be used more so as a decoy to impact the run game, to impact getting the ball to Garrett Wilson's hand and maybe Tyler Conklin. But don't be surprised, man, if he comes up with a couple of big-time catches because the defense sleeps on him a little bit as we go ahead and go to the other guys. I think he'll be physically ready to go. It's all about whether or not the playbook is processed mentally.
Now, I just wanted Jake, look at this. So is this something, if it was Jets forever, wouldn't he act like this?
Look, I'm willing to take all this fake money and bet it on the fact that is Jets forever.
Yeah, that's so good. Now we're gonna take a few minutes and we're gonna look at the 53 and we're gonna cut that up and see any surprises and all that stuff. But I wanted to, before we do that, it's very important that we acknowledge something that happened in the AFC East, which is the Miami Dolphins cut Mike White. Now, that in and of itself is of interest. There's all the tweets. Should the Jets sign Mike White? Blah, blah, all that stuff. But did you know what they did on the back end is they signed Tim Boyle?
Yeah. That's what I said. I said the Jets have to sign Mitch Trubisky now, and the three-way circle jerk will be complete.
What the hell is going on? Now, I mean, is there a world where Tim Boyle is a better option than Mike White? I mean, I never, it's not like Mike White is Dan Marino, but I mean, Jake, where's the logic here?
I mean, I don't know. So I guess Boyle's on their practice squad, whereas like
Skylar Thompson, I think, is the true backup.
Like Mike White got beat out by Skylar Thompson, but still, like, why does Tim Boyle keep getting jobs anywhere? He's terrible. Like he honestly, like look, say whatever you want about Zach Wilson, he stinks, but Zach Wilson is like objectively speaking 1,000 times better than Tim Boyle, which I didn't think was possible. Like. The fact that Tim Boyle still keeps getting jobs, like someone's actually paying him. I get it's the practice squad, but someone's paying him to play football is insane.
Amazing.
It's terrible.
It's amazing to me. Like I sincerely don't understand. And like, let's do this. Like I went to the Black Friday game last year.
God bless.
Miami Dolphins, dude. The Hail Mary. That was Tim Boyle.
The failed Mary. Let's call it what it was.
Hail
Mary, failed
but
Mary.
It's like, I mean, they saw it. They were laughing. They were having such a fun time. Like, this guy sucks balls. And then they're like, oh, but you know what? We'll bring him on.
Yeah, and then Buffalo with Mike White. I mean, I think they left 3 ribs and half of his rib cartilage on the field over there at the 40-yard line.
Which still to this day, one of the look, I hate it that it happened to a Jets player. I hate it that it was in a game where we very realistically could have won. It was a hard fought game, but boy, oh boy, was that one of the better formed tackles I've seen in a very long time. It was, I mean, it's against the Jets, so it sucks, but quite frankly, it was a thing of beauty. That's like exactly what you want to see your linebacker doing to a quarterback. Poor Mike White, dude, that was crazy. So let's do this. Let's take a moment. I'm going to go to Our Lads. If you guys don't know about Our Lads, a depth chart site that I actually I favor. I actually like. They're my favorite. So let's take a look, and we'll see the 53-man roster as it stands now. Here we go. So on the offense, Jake, any surprises? Any of these players, rub you? Every year we got a guy we go, oh man, that sucked. We shouldn't have kept him. Should have kept him. Any of these guys bother you up here? And are you perturbed at all?
Yeah, I was a little surprised 8 made the team. I thought, there'd maybe be more competition from Peasley or Martinez,
or Boyle, who was a free agent,
right?
Yeah, so that surprised me. I mean, honestly, this is I guess the only somewhat surprise was they kept 4 running backs with Izzy, but by the end of that final preseason game, I went from I don't think Izzy's going to make the team to, well, you kind of have to keep him. What more could the guy have done? So there was really nothing with this roster offensively that surprised me. I think the surprises were more defensively with the 3 UDFAs all making the team.
Yeah. I would say this. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to say, I feel the same way. I think we all felt, I think many Jets fans, and I will include myself in this lot, is that I was borderline convinced that there just wasn't a spot for Izzy Abanikanda. But he really, he looked pretty good all preseason in his limited action, but game 3, he showed a lot more than I think we were expecting. Being able to bounce off guys, running through tackles, showed the speed, showed a really high level of balance and drive and determination. And it's hard to let guys like that go. So I was surprised, but I felt the same way after that game. What? On second thought, I think they probably should and will keep Izzy. So it was an interesting turnaround for him in the preseason. What do you got, Tom?
Yeah, well, two parts. One, to your point that you just said, I really think that Joe Douglas and his staff learned from the years past, mainly the Jason Pinnock thing, where they thought they could let him go and sneak him through. I think they made a conscious effort to identify the players that would be taken or snagged and either try to trade them like they did with Codrington or protect them. Obviously the oh my God, why can't I think of his name? Shamir Bartholomew,
right.
Who there was just listen. There was just no room for him, but he was the one player who earned the most claims from the initial free agent room. I think 5 teams put claims on him. So there was just no room for him. So I think that the Jets really made a conscious effort knowing that Izzy was going to be protected. And listen, maybe they think Izzy has a role. I probably think more so than not, Izzy's going to be inactive most of the time. But we'll see what happens. The surprise on the offense that I have is how many Jets fans were just completely floored and butthurt when they cut Jason Brownlee. Listen, Brownlee's a nice story, nice kid, I'm sure, but let's call it what it is. He really hadn't impressed all that much, right? And obviously 31 other NFL teams, weren't clamoring for him because he went unclaimed in waivers today and is now free to sign wherever. So maybe they bring him back to the practice squad and make another move, but that hasn't been done yet. That to me was the thing that I saw as most surprising, where how many people were really upset that Brownlee got cut when they signed the tight end.
Well, I'll tell you what, I don't want to use the word jag for Brownlee. Uh, but what has he really done one way or the other? I'm telling you, I liked Brandon Smith more. I mean, it's like there are these guys, right? They come out of nowhere, and you can't really equate preseason to NFL success, but it's what you have. And when Brownlee's dropping passes in game 2, and Brandon Smith, I think he's one of he might be the only player in the preseason that had 0 drops. I mean, he's a 100% catch rate for the preseason. It's like, and we're talking about downfield. We're talking about
contested.
Contested over the middle. Whatever you asked him to do, he just did it. And I understand he's newer, to the fray and all that. But I mean, how do you, with a guy like Brownlee? And again, like you said, it's not a shot at him. It's just we have 53 spots. And you want the best 53 to be the guys that you go into the season with. I think I'm happy he's on the practice squad, but I don't know what Brownlee's really done.
Well, Brownlee's not on the practice squad yet. I'm sure his agents
I was saying Brandon Smith.
Yeah. Well, listen, wide receiver 5 and 6, if they're not going to affect the offense that much, have to provide something on a special team, and that's really what probably is holding back Brandon Smith and Jason Brownlee from being on the active roster.
Yeah. So, all right, let's take a look at this. We got Mike Williams and Alan Lazard. Now, I think a lot of Jets fans have at least softened somewhat on Alan Lazard. There was quite a high level of vitriol, like, fucking, this guy sucks. We should cut him and trade him for a fucking bag of peanuts, that kind of stuff. I think, with Aaron Rodgers, we see a little bit different version of him, and I think he can be a role player. He's also quite the blocker on running downs or downfield, blocking for his compadres in the wide receiver room. So that's of benefit as well. Garrett Wilson and Irv Charles, Dom was saying Irv Charles, he had a sneaky suspicion that Irv Charles might be in jeopardy. I didn't disagree entirely. It was the special teams impact, I think, was really the decider. There, Xavier Gibson, who I'm not in love with. I know he brings a skill set that no other wide receiver on the team has, but you could have easily rectified that with drafting Malik Washington, and we wouldn't have this discussion. But I digress. I'll leave that alone. So Gibson's there, Malachi Corley. That's our group. Gunny, what do you think about our wide receiver core going into San Francisco?
Yeah, listen, I'm with you guys in regards to Brandon Smith. I was really big on him being the guy you would have kept in this wide receiver room over Brownlee. I just feel like Brownlee, we got excited over seeing him do some things in practice, but we've never seen it correlate to game days. Whereas you've seen Smith not just do it in practice, but literally do it in game day. So I was definitely on team. Let's keep Smith. But yeah, I feel like they've got to be keeping a spot open for somebody, right? This wide receiver room can't be complete. And I get it. We've got Garrett Wilson, we've got Mike Williams, Alan Lazard. I think we can all agree is a respectable wide receiver 3. We're hoping Malachi Corley can take that next step. You've kind of seen him kind of been put in a box throughout preseason and training camp. So we're really still haven't seen him hit the full array or plethora of wide receiver routes. Irvin Charles, let's be honest, this is a special teams guy. So yeah, when you look at it, I feel like maybe they're holding on hope for a specific individual to go ahead and become available and bring him on.
I know what you're doing. I know.
I'm just saying. I don't think this isn't the wide receiver room that we're going to see at the end of the season when the Jets are holding up the Lombardi Trophy. I think there's somebody right now that's missing, and I think that's why we're seeing it this way. Because again, I like Williams. I'm okay with freaking Lazard being a wide receiver 3, but there's specific opportunity that you can go ahead and add to this wide receiver room that's going to legitimately make you a scary option other than freaking Garrett Wilson.
Oh, yeah, it's a whole different thing. And we'll see how that goes. The good news is we have a bunch of guys, whether it's Gibson, I guess you can't really cut Lazard, but I mean, I don't know. It wouldn't be really a big issue to let go of Gibson and bring on the gentleman you're insinuating might be a part of the Jets by the end of the season. But let's say, so the offensive line, Jake, you got Tyron Smith backed up by Olu Fashanu, and Carter Warren made it John Simpson. You got Joe Tittman, AVT, Morgan Moses, but we got Xavier Newman. I think a lot of Jets fans going into training camp were really kind of down on Xavier Newman. I was one of them. I was looking for the guy to replace him as the depth piece, but he played really well. We saw him quite often doing something that we love to see offensive linemen doing, which is looking for work, downfield, just finding guys to hit. So I think he really impressed. Wes Schweitzer, not the biggest fan of, but he is what he is. And who knows, year 2 in the system. Max Mitchell. How do you feel about the group overall, Jake?
I feel very good about it. I'm cautiously optimistic that a unit that has been such a weakness for so long might actually be, dare I say, a strength. But don't you feel like at the bare minimum, and I'm going to knock on every wood I can find in front of me, like at the bare minimum, even with some injuries, they're at least an average unit. Like Olu being the backup to Tyron and now Morgan Moses is huge. Even if he's just average, like that is such an improvement over what they put out there last year. It goes without saying. I think Tittman will be better from year 1 to year 2. Rodgers, I know, has raved about him. AVT's at his natural position now. He's an all-pro level guard at that spot. The key is health. I get it, but I think he's going to have a good year. And I think maybe the most underrated thing they did was get rid of that stiff Laken Tomlinson and replace him with John Simpson, who him just being average is a substantial improvement. Like, remember last offseason, you might have to just keep Laken because you don't want to have to find 3 new starters. And, Laken goes out there and he's durable. I'm like, BS. He stinks. Cut him. And guess what? To Douglas's credit, they did. And they got Morgan Moses for a 6th-round pick. Simpson is a solid player on a 2-year deal. Tyron Smith was $6.5 million guaranteed. Like, you could say a lot of things about Joe Douglas, but he did his job this offseason revamping this offensive line.
I actually feel the same way. I mean, Laken Tomlinson was an actual liability. So, it wasn't just like, he's not very good. He was terrible. And add Uzoma, you know what I mean? Like when they would be on the left side, it's like, we have a banged up, what the hell was his name?
Dwayne Brown.
Yeah, Dwayne Brown, and you got Laken Tomlinson and Uzoma trying to help out. It was brutal. That Dallas game stands out as one of those. It was just, it was borderline unwatchable what was going on. And the good news is that our offensive coordinator is just like, we're going to keep running that way. That looks good to me. So that collection of either, a talentless or struggling offensive linemen and tight ends in conjunction with the fact that Hackett was just like, well, no, I got scripted plays or I'm just going to run that way. Borderline unwatchable. So it's real nice. I tend to agree. You're adding Tyron Smith, and if something happens, Olu Fashanu with John Simpson over there, we're going to have a much, much different outcome. So let's do this. The tight ends. Now, we know that my boy Yaboa, and I see all of your blaspheming in the chat, everybody. I want you to know, just because I didn't put it up there doesn't mean I didn't see it. Everybody calling my boy a jag. We'll see. But he's injured, which is just the worst for a guy like me trying to defend somebody. But we got Brendan Bates, Dom. So what do you think of this Brendan Bates pickup, undrafted free agent himself? But in the preseason, he's among the greatest tight ends in this preseason. Yeah. So how do you feel about that? You think he's going to have any impact? Do you like the addition? What do you think?
I'll tell you this. I think probably more than anyone how serious and how in-depth I go into my prospect and film study for the incoming class. I had extensive, well, maybe that's not the right word, but I had at least 3 to 4 minimum games watched on 19 different tight ends. I didn't watch one game, not one, of Brandon Bates. So I knew nothing about him. I know that he had a good preseason. The people that I know that are in tune or Chicago Bears fans are kind of in the know. Some of the content guys from that cover the Bears. He was one of those guys kind of like the Pinnock of a couple years ago for us. Like, damn, man, I wish he had snuck through. He would have been a nice guy to hold on to. So, in doing some quicker due diligence on him after we did sign him, he never produced much as a receiver. Definitely known more for a blocker, and I think this may be kind of that H-back fullback, hybrid fullback tight end role that Ferkser was filling in the preseason, that Yeboah was kind of taking some snaps in, even though that's not a good fit for him, and that everyone thinks that Ruckert should do, which I don't necessarily agree. So maybe this is the role they envision for him, is kind of that fullback, H-back, emergency third tight end, and you can leave Conklin and Ruckert to be, your inline guys or your flexed out guys, your true 1 and 2 tight end.
Well, let me just say, Yeboah, there's nothing that Yeboah can't do, okay? And I'm tired of Adirondack and Dano and everybody busting my chops tonight. Real quick, the defense, and I want to end the poll. What I asked tonight, Jake, was how many sacks do you see? Now, of course, we all know it's a lot more than sacks, right, that we're looking at here. But how many sacks do we think a non-Hassan Reddick defense will be able to produce in game 1? I have, the options were 0, 1 to 2, 3 to 5, or 5+. So 3 to 5 came in with a big win with 41%, 1 to 2, 30%, 0 got 20%. And very few people, only 7%, see us getting 5+. Jake, I'll start with you. How do you feel about the non-Reddick defensive line? We got the Tack McKinleys, Michael Clemens, and McDonald's of the world trying to fill that void from JFM, Bryce Huff, and obviously Reddick. What do you see?
So I voted in the poll, but I read it wrong. I read it as if how many sacks will Hassan Reddick get in week 1? So I said 0 because I don't expect him to be out there week 1, but I want to change my answer.
I did the same thing.
Oh man,
I think
I wrote non-Reddick. That kind of sounds like Hassan Reddick.
Yeah, I don't know.
Non-Reddick.
I'm going 3 sacks opening night, but a lot of pressures. And to quote Dre on my show, Brock Purdy might die. All right, that's what type of pressure we're talking about.
But and you know what? Forget about Trent Williams because he's a separate animal and still hasn't reported. But even outside of that, the San Francisco offensive line is not as formidable as they have been in years past. Colton McKivitz on the right side just might be the worst starting right tackle in the league. It's a coin flip at this point between him and Mike McGlinchey. In my opinion, their right guard, Feliciano, is out and hurt. I mean, he's being replaced by a heralded 3rd-round draft pick, Dominic Puney, who was a tackle in college. They moved him inside. He had a great Senior Bowl, so he's getting his initiation against Q and Javon Kinlaw, who's going to be I don't know how much you guys believe in the revenge factor kind of thing, but
I believe in it.
In a guy like him, I believe in it. I'm sure that they're going to make him the captain, and he's going to take no freaking mercy on San Francisco, so on and so forth. So
100%.
Yeah. And then their other guard, Aaron Banks, I know was hurt and just came back first day practicing. So he's missed most of camp. They have a backup right now in left tackle. So Brock Purdy might die. If things work well, he just might die.
He's going to be running for his life. That's for sure.
Yeah, I like it. I think, look, putting a rookie, and by the way, I liked Puney coming out. You know what I mean? So it's not that I think he's a bad player, but that's definitely what we call a trial by fire, especially if Trent Williams isn't there going against Jermaine Johnson on the left side there. I mean, that can be a long night. Quinnen Williams and Jermaine Johnson going against two guys that just aren't up to, Puney not being up to speed yet. It's just, I don't know. It's a recipe for potential destruction, which I am very, very excited about. how do we feel about Tack McKinley, Gunny? I mean, is this real? Are we to believe that we found a diamond in the rough and that he's going to look like he did in preseason?
I think that Dom said it best, right? You're going to have guys like Tad McKinley out there. You're going to have guys that have a story, right? They got to go ahead and finish up their story. They got to add to it. McKinley was, again, a first-round talent. What people forget, he was a first-round talent. This wasn't a guy that was an undrafted free agent that happened to me. First-round talent, kind of fell off. Some personal aspects kind of like, I would say, derailed his focus and his love for the game. But the fact of the matter is, you've seen this guy come out in terms of press conferences and just talk about how amazing it is right now to be in a whole other scenario, to be in a situation right now where he feels like this team respects what he brings to the table. They've been able to go ahead and find the fire and light him back. I think McKinley is going to have a coming out party against the freaking 49ers. I know Jake said he thinks 3 with several pressures. I'm in that 5 sack range with several pressures. This offensive line without Trent Williams, I think, is significantly in the red. You saw Trent Williams get a guy like Laken Tomlinson paid under the false pretense of being a Pro Bowler because he got to play next to wow, I'm having a
Trent Williams.
Trent Williams. Thank you. Trent Williams. Sorry about that. Trent Williams. So I'm starting to realize, like, if he's not there, listen, the money he's asking for to me seems like it's out of the realm of possibility because of the fact that he's still got 3 years left on his contract. They're like, hey, man, you got to show up. Or, if he doesn't show up, I think that's the best thing we could have asked for to go ahead and get this defensive line really going. Momentum is key in the NFL. And I think you're going to go ahead and see a momentum type play week 1. And I'm going with 5 sacks. I'm also with the multiple pressures, but I think they get to freaking Brock Purdy at least 5 times.
Oh, I love it. I think that's the way that I am leaning as well. I am in the 5 to 8 sack range, and I'm a little bit drunk with the possibilities of the Jet season. So I know that I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. But again, when you look at the offensive line that we're going against, it's very, very possible that we see a big night. So let's do this. So, Jake, I got you for like 5 more minutes. I want to get to Crossfire here. Talking Cross O'Beery's super chat. Sorry to cut you off there, Dom. Talking Cross O'Beery, that's the former Crossfire, everybody. Don't forget, it was Brown's fault, Dwayne Brown, that is, everybody, that Rodgers got hit. He failed at keeping Leonard Floyd back. Floyd ran past Brown and hit Rodgers on that play, which, interestingly enough, Leonard Floyd, as we know, we played him opening Monday Night Football last year. He, just like is being discussed, he was a big reason that we lost Aaron Rodgers. And now here he is on the Niners, and we get to see him Monday Night Football week 1 again. So are we spooked, Jake? Is there a little bit of bad juju there? Or is this another opportunity just to say, hey, we're not that team anymore. Dwayne Brown's gone. Mekhi Becton's gone. Laken Tomlinson's gone. CJ Uzomah's gone. Michael Carter's gone. Dalvin Cook's gone. We are ready for you. How do you see this one?
Well, I think Leonard Floyd is hurt right now, so I don't know if he's playing week 1. Yeah, he got hurt.
He did get hurt, but I think he was practicing with a non-contact jersey. They expect him to be ready, just like they expect Christian McCaffrey, who's still not practicing in full all preseason. Damn shame. Just saying. Yeah, hate to see it. Right.
Yeah. I mean, look, like, and honestly, if you go back to that play, like Rodgers even talked about this, like Dwayne Brown did the cut block, and then Rodgers, I think, Ian O'Connor wrote about this in the book, or he said this to me when I had him on, I forget. Like Rodgers was basically trying to create like a big play downfield, so he was looking at either Conklin or Uzomah when he had Garrett open on the slant. He should have just threw it. So, it is what it is. But Dwayne Brown was terrible, so I'm not here to defend him. But that all being said, like, I'm not living my life in fear. Like the worst already happened. I'm going into this game. We got Aaron Rodgers. We're gonna get to the 5th play. We're all gonna go crazy, and then we're gonna be ready to go. 5th play, and then the Super Bowl run begins. We get to play 5. Here we go. Let's go.
5th play is going to be a big one. It's like, Jake, last year when we had our meetup in MetLife, it was for the Chargers game. and we got our first roughing the passer penalty in 2
I
years.
remember. I was there too. Yeah, we went nuts.
It was like, I mean, there were Chargers fans like looking at it like, what the fuck are you? We were like, ah! Oh my God. It's going to be very similar, like play 5. It's going to be something to behold. So I'm excited to get to play 5. It's really when the season starts. Play 5.
Yep.
is what I want to say. So Crossfire talking Cross O'Beery. Thank you very much. Now let's do this before you go, Jake. The cornerbacks. We see a couple names on there that were not here last year. You know, we lost Bryce Hall, who I'm a fan of until the first play of the season. But we have Quantez Stiggers making the 53 and Jarek Bernard Converse. How do you feel about that? I mean, are these guys adequate backup? Do you feel positive? Are you a little nervous, coming from the fan league and the Canadian Football League and all that shit for Stiggers? How do you feel with these guys, being the primary reserves for Sauce Reed and Michael Carter II?
I feel pretty good about their depth. I do. I mean, I love what we saw from Stiggers in the preseason. I mean, he's so much better than what like a typical 5th round rookie corner would look like. I think a lot of it probably is because he's not really a rookie in a sense. Like he's a rookie in the NFL, but this guy was a professional player in the Canadian League and was one of the best players in that league. So I feel good about him. And, JBC was awesome, man. Like it's another example, I think, of this staff being able to identify talent and just coaching them up. And in some cases, like JBC, changing positions. We saw this with Sherwood as well. We've seen this a lot with some of the things they've done. So I just have so much faith in the defensive coaching staff. I mean, let's not forget they beat the undefeated Eagles last year with Zach Wilson at quarterback, without Sauce, without Reed in that one. Like that showed me a lot. So I just think as long as they don't suffer, catastrophic injuries all over the defense, they're going to be good no matter what because they're well coached. They have supreme talent, and I think the depth is really good.
Yeah, and look, man, we had it was Bryce Hall and Craig James,
dude,
out there.
Craig James strapping up Devontae Smith with the game on the line.
And I tell you what, he played the game of his life. He really did. So yeah, I mean, that's a great point. So I think, the idea that, look, we have a lot to say about our coaching staff. We don't really, Robert Saleh as a head coach is sort of unproven. There's a lot, to be, a lot that we don't like. But I got to say, there's one thing you cannot take from this staff is that defensively, they're good and they can develop guys. Quincy Williams way up top.
Oh, yeah.
For a guy with 25% missed tackle rate in Jacksonville, scrap heap, we pick him up and he's literally an all-pro. That speaks volumes. And, I think they're the perfect staff for a guy like Stiggers and Jarek Bernard Converse. Obviously there are question marks, but I feel pretty good too. Jake, we got to let you go, it seems, huh? You're going to go spend all that fake money somewhere at Chipotle, I heard.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'm going on the Nick Shine is doing a show tonight for Bobby Midnight's birthday. So
that's right.
I'm going to celebrate Robert Woodruff's birthday with a bunch of Asmaniacs in a little bit, which is crazy.
Aren't we supposed to keep that secret? I don't know.
Well, he's co-hosting the show with Nick.
Yeah, but he didn't know everybody was coming on or some shit. I don't know. Maybe you're blowing it.
They'll be in the audience and maybe they might get slipped a StreamYard link, maybe.
maybe. Yeah, we're just hanging in the chat.
Yeah.
I might be stopping by there after the show as well. I'm not sure.
O'Leary is too, I hear. He doesn't want his butt to go back on a stick again. That was a whole thing.
Well, who doesn't love Bobby? You know what I mean? Like, really. If the Knoble, just the Knoble thing alone, Bobby cemented his legendary status with that. One of the greatest maintaining of the straight man, so to speak, that I've ever seen.
He crushed it. Yeah, he was 10 out of 10. No notes.
Speaking of Knoble, Jake, with all the merch that you're putting out, do you have a Knoble shirt?
So I'll tell you what, we are in the works getting something in the merch store for Knoble. We had a Bobby Midnight shirt we did, and then our next special shirt's going to be something Knoble related, which is going to be great.
You got to have it. Just like the fake jersey, like the T-shirt jersey where it's the Jets Knoble on the back. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, I agree. So Jake Asman, everybody, 99% chance that you've heard of him. You know him. You have been to his channel. But Jake, you got anything coming up you want to announce? You let anybody know something fun you're doing, or just where to find you?
You know what? I do actually. So I'm sure you guys get asked all the time. You guys doing anything for the Niners game? Is there anything going on? Going to San Fran? So for everyone who's not going to San Francisco, I'm hosting a regular season watch party at T-Squared Social in New York City for the game. So it's at a phenomenal sports bar right next to Grand Central Station in Midtown. So you can take the train if you're coming from Long Island or Jersey or Connecticut, Westchester. The venue's awesome. Ask anyone who went to our preseason event we did there for the Panther game. We had 200 people show up for that. So there's going to be like 400 people for this San Fran game in 11 days. And then I'm doing it for week 2 for the Titans game as well. So if you can make it to either week 1 or week 2, if you want to watch the game with a bunch of crazy Jet fans, RSVP, the link is everywhere on my YouTube and Twitter, Instagram, but it's T-Squared Social in Midtown, and it's going to be an absolute blast if you're in the tri-state area.
Yeah, I mean, it looked fun. Are you going to sit on the shoulders of one Nick Shine again, you think?
I'll tell you what, if Nick Shine will have me on his shoulders, it will be one of the greatest honors of my life to get up there again and lead a Jet chant.
Yeah, that was gorgeous. I must say, Nick Shine, not gorgeous by himself, but it was the union that was gorgeous. I would never attach the word gorgeous to Nick Shine without the Jake Asman shoulder connection. Together, you guys, oh, what a beautiful thing that was to behold. So, Jake, I thank you for hopping on, spending some time with us. It's always a great time when we get to spend some time with you. So thank you very, very much. And we will be talking, I imagine. We're almost there, buddy. So Jet season is upon us. Jake Asman, everybody. Thanks, Jake, and have a great rest of your night.
Thank you, guys. Thank you to GreenBean and Dom and Gunny. You guys always come on my show anytime I ask, so I appreciate it. Glad I could join you guys. And next time I talk to all of you, there's a good chance the Jets might be 1-0. I hope I talk to you before then. But if
the Jets will be 1-0.
That's right. If I don't talk to you, just know they will be 1-0, and I can't wait, baby. We're drinking everybody's tears this year. It's coming, baby.
Oh, I love
Let's go.
I love it.
I love it. Well said. All right, there he goes, everybody. Jake Asman, spending that fake cash everywhere he goes. I love it. So let's do this real quick. I want to remind everybody about the sponsor of the show, BetUS. You can get yourself a 125% bonus on your first 3 deposits up to $2,000 by clicking the link right in the description of this very video. As a matter of fact, because I love you guys, I'm going to stick that link and pin it in the top of the chat to make it easy for you. How's that sound? So there you go. I'm going to pin. Oh, look at this. Before he leaves, Jake Asman gifted a membership to the Stream Beaners.
What a guy.
David D, you are now the newest member of the Stream Beaners. Enjoy the emojis and the free super chats, courtesy of one Jake. What I guess it might be Jacob. I was going to go for a full name. Jake Colomew.
Jacob Bartholomew Asman.
There it is. There it is. So David D, you're the newest member, courtesy of Jake Asman. I'm pinning the BetUS link to the top of the chat for ease of use. Again, guys, you saw the line for the Niners Jets game, and we'll be talking about BetUS throughout the stream. I want to say this. There are now 320 people in this chat and only 135 milk thumbs. Let's take this second and go and squish those milk thumbs. Let's go. My wife asked me the other day, she goes, milk thumbs, huh? How the hell did you? I said, I don't know what happened. I was doing, and then somebody said, actually, that's wrong. This is not good form for milking. I was like, oh, really? Like, you're supposed to.
Yeah.
I was like, well, yeah, I'm milking the thumb. It's hard to, And people, they're literal. They're literal, Gunny. People yell at me. They're like, that's actually
But
not
we get it. That's been ongoing for a while now. Everybody here gets it. We know what it means. She didn't have to do you like that.
I'm telling you. At least you didn't
Just
do
let
it
the man
publicly.
live. Let the man
let
live.
me live, man. So that's the like button, everybody. If you haven't smashed the like button, please do. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do. I'm trying to get to 14,000 in a hurry. I told you guys I took a 2-month break this offseason. I lost a bunch of subscribers. Crazy. So I'm back on the positive side, and we are now trucking toward 14,000. I want to try to do that in the first couple weeks of the season. So you can help support the channel by doing just that. And don't forget, you can support the channel by clicking the BetUS link as well. Steven Alvarez checking in, Dom. He says, thoughts on the 30 for 30 on the sack exchange? I heard about that. What do you think, Dom?
Yeah, so I got to be honest with you. I am a huge fan of the 30 for 30 series, no matter what they are. The fact that this one will be kind of New York Jet centric, I'm all for it. And again, if I'm being fully honest, the sack exchange I was really, really young when they were big. Obviously, everyone remembers Gastineau. I don't know much more about him. So I'm intrigued in learning more and finding out the ins and the outs, because depending on the age group, on who you talk to in the Jets historian realm, they'll tell you different things. They'll tell you, well, Klecko and Lyons really fucking hated Gastineau, and Gastineau felt resentful against this guy, and I don't even know the fourth guy's name, but he didn't like anybody. He didn't like anybody, and this, that, and the other thing. So I'm looking forward to it. Like I said, I think the 30 for 30 series are top notch, no matter what they are. I always watch them, so I'm looking forward to this one for sure.
Yeah, and you know what's cool about it, Gunny, is the fact that, like, for so many years, the sack exchange was all but ignored. I mean, in their heyday, it was one thing, but as soon as it was gone, it's just like we talk about all these great sack guys, and a lot of their numbers were prior to them actually keeping track of the sack numbers. So, like, there was one year where, think about this for a defensive line. Klecko had 20 and a half. Gastineau had 20. And then our interior guys had 7 and 6. Like, you just don't see that. So the idea that Klecko finally getting in the Hall of Fame has kind of broken this door open a little bit for us. Now we're going to show the world what this really looked like. I think it's high time that these guys get a little bit of a appreciation. They were, among the greatest defenses ever, but as far as rushing the quarterback, potentially the best ever at doing it. And it's
so let me ask you
them get their credit.
Let me ask you this, GreenBean. And I'll pose it to you too, Gunny, but I know you're even younger than I am, so this is more Gator getting rough.
Well, and sadly, Gator, I know that was while Jake was here too.
What the hell did I do?
Damn, man.
There's a term of endearment. You know that.
Okay. Oh, this is a positive. All right.
So, GreenBean, knowing all the effort and work and time it took for Klecko to get in, do you think that Gastineau deserves to be in the Hall of Fame?
I do think he deserves it. I don't know.
I know he won't get it because of the whole scab and crossing the picket line thing.
Right. That's exactly right. So Gastineau, if you guys aren't of that era, Gastineau crossed the picket line when the NFL strike happened. He crossed it and still played. And that was it for him. Plus, there was like a steroid thing before everybody took steroids. You know what I mean? And then he had the whole thing, Dom. Where'd he go? So he had the whole thing with Brigitte Nielsen. You might remember Brigitte Nielsen from Rocky IV. Well, she got sick or something, and he was having a great season. He was like back, and he just quit mid-year and said, "I'm going to take care of my wife," which is admirable on one side, but on the Jets fan side, it's like, what the fuck is that? It's bullshit. And I remember I was in high school at the time, and I had to endure and weather all kinds of Giant fan baloney. Oh, your guy quit. He's a fucking. I was like, so all those things combined, I just don't think Gastineau gets in there, even though he's still the sack leader. As a matter of fact, hold on a second. Let me see
Well,
something.
they didn't. He's not the sack leader though, because
He is.
they didn't keep record of it.
I'll show you why. This is how Brett Favre gave it to Michael Strahan. Here's a little clip for you guys.
And don't forget, we got to get Joe Klecko in the Hall of Fame this year. This is his best chance to get in, and we are going to help him. Mark Gastineau, as we know, got 22 sacks in 1984. 22 sacks. No one has eclipsed that. No one has touched it. And then Michael Strahan comes along, and they were in the final game of the season, and it looked like he just wasn't going to do it. And what happens? Brett Favre, with very little time left in the game, rolls out to the right and just lays down. The tight end barely went to block him. It was as if they talked about in the huddle. Let's just give Strahan the record. He's earned it. It sure as heck looked like they planned it. He rolled out, laid in front of him, and Strahan went nuts, and the NFL acted as if things were all hunky-dory, like nothing was awry. No one cares. Just give away records, especially from a team and a man that don't have much. It's all we got, and you had to take it from us, man.
See? See?
Was that from the
Man, look at
the
young
RV?
GreenBean. Is that me? Was
Young.
that just like young GreenBean? How long ago was that, GreenBean?
I don't know. I was still in the RV, so at least 2 years ago. Let me show you guys something real quick, too. That beard, you see that beard? That was impressive, right? Let me show you guys something here. I'm going to show you. When I do a lot on YouTube, and so every now and then, like, my channel will just suggest shit to me as if I'm watching my channel, right? Like, I need suggestions. But look at this. So the other day it suggested to me the interview with Connor Hughes. All right. So look at this. I snapshot. I'm like, holy shit. Who let my beard get this long? Look at this thing. Look at that beard, Dom. See it?
Yeah.
Magnificent.
Stunning.
Is that when you first moved into your new house?
Yeah. So I didn't even have a setup yet. I was, we came out of the RV and I was just like, I need a room. I was just in a room in my house. But look at I saw the beard. I was like, what the fuck? I mean, I think this is long. I mean, I was definitely not working. That's what that says. I was definitely not working. But that was the fun interview when Connor Hughes and I got to talk about the New York media, which I was very grateful to be able to kind of get that opportunity to say, what the fuck's the problem with the New York media? Why do they got to act like this? You know what I mean? And I thought he did a good job answering the questions honestly, but I had no idea that my beard looked like that. So did we do this? All right, we did that one. Let me get here. Hold on a second. Let me catch up here. E-Boogie, our good friend, who I was in the Beanbagger fantasy draft with just, Thursday? Yeah, just last night. So thank you, E-Boogie, consummate supporter. I'm very grateful for E-Boogie. He says, who are the players you guys see the Jets are targeting at the deadline besides Davante Adams, which is Gunny? That's who you were talking about earlier, I imagine. Any offensive line, safety, defensive tackles, tight ends? I'll start with you, Dom, and I'll see what Gunny thinks. Anybody you think the Jets could be targeting? I mean, as it stands now, obviously an injury or something like that could
that'll obviously skew it. I mean, what room? I mean, picking a player is tough without knowing without knowing details and contracts. I think I'll answer it like this: if this Reddick thing doesn't get resolved, maybe a defensive end, maybe a guy who can rush the passer. And the only reason I would say that is if this Reddick thing, goes into the season and the Jets find that it's a struggle to get pressure at the quarterback, maybe they want to make a move that way and say, all right, well, Reddick, now you done did it. So I'll say that.
All right, there you go. Gunny, you got anybody you think the Jets are eyeballing?
Yeah, Davante Adams. I really think
he said
the
except
missing
him,
piece.
beside him.
I don't think there's anybody else. I really love what this roster looks like. I think when you look at this roster from top to bottom, right, I think that we're complete in every aspect. We've got depth across the board. This roster, call me a homer if you want to. I believe if they had to get to their second tier on the defensive side, on the second tier of the offensive line, second tier, even in the running back room, I believe this team could still win the AFC East. That's how freaking well-rounded I think this roster is. So for me, it's Devontae Adams. I think he's like the chef's kiss or the cherry on top, however you want to look at it, that the New York Jets are already looking at and just waiting for the opportunity for the Raiders to say, you know what, he's on the freaking trade on the trade market. And once he is, I have no doubt in my mind that he's going to be a New York Jet. And that's the chef's kiss. That's going to be it. Once we get Devontae Adams, I'm calling it now. We're going to the Super Bowl.
So one thing to that, Gunny, who just paid, wax poetic about how deep the roster is, and I don't disagree. I agree. Mm-hmm. Realize that we're doing all this currently with $53.1 million of dead cap money that's just wasted salary that we can't have. Think about that. That's three $20 million players, or almost three $20 million players that we could have at our disposal.
Damn, that's a good point. I didn't even think I forgot all about that. That's a very good point.
It's a shame too, because Joe Douglas's first 2 years, he had to kind of, he had to deal with a lot of McCagnon's baloney, right? He had to absorb a lot of dead cap with Le'Veon Bell, Kelechi Osemele, Quincy Enunwa, all those guys. And he's done a pretty good job. Like with
he got it to zero. He actually got it to zero.
And then here we are, with the Laken Tomlinsons, Carl Lawsons, and
JFM, CJ Uzomah,
Wilson. Like all of a sudden we're kind of back there. And like you said, it hogties you somewhat. We could have done a lot more damage. But hey, I guess this thing is fluid, and you deal with what you deal with. Let me point there. There's a couple good comments here I saw about this. Where was it? Shit, I lost the comments. Damn it. I saw some about Brett Favre, and it's really, there. So here's one. Michael Piper, Favre changed the run play to a pass play for that sack. And when you look at so like that was 1984 that Mark Gastineau got that. He held the record all the way, excuse me, until 2001. It's a long time to hold it. I mean, look, we get all a flutter about guys if they get 14 sacks, 15 sacks. We're like, oh my God, about 22 sacks, man. So here's how it breaks down. So Michael Strahan, even with that, is 22 and a half. TJ Watt, 22 and a half with an extra game. I think. No, maybe not. Yeah, I think so. The first year. What was the first year of 17? It was 2021, right? I think it was.
Yep.
Yeah. So he needed an extra game. Jared Allen has 22 sacks, and Mark Gastineau has 22. Justin Houston has 22. Chris Dolman, 21. Reggie White, 20. Think about that. Reggie White only had, not to say only, but he got up to 21. Aaron Donald, 20 and a half. So like Gastineau, he's still among the absolute elite. And again, like the only guy, think about this. Strahan was gifted. TJ Watt needed an extra game to get a half sack more than Gastineau. We're talking 1984, dude. That's 40 years.
Yeah.
40 years, guys. So it's nice to see that they'll be getting their accolades. I've met Mark Gastineau a couple of times. He actually signed one of my, I ran it, dude. I came down at Giant Stadium. I just came down the escalator after a game and he was standing there alone. I was like, hey. He goes, hey, how you doing, man? I said, fucking, hey, man. I love you, dude. I did the whole drunken thing that I do. And I said, hey, could you sign my jersey? It was a Dennis Bird jersey, but he signed it. And then he talked to me about Jesus, which was fine. He's like, hey, how you doing with your soul? How's your soul? I'm like, am I fucking hammered?
It's ashy black right now, Mark. It's dark as hell.
Yeah, I think the Jets won, so I was in a good mood. But other than that, I was like, I don't know, man. I think I'm pretty good. One of those things. I think I'm all right. I think Jesus and me are all right. But Ohio Jets fan checking in, everybody. Thank you, Ohio. He says, let's let this team write its story this year. We are primed and ready to go. To prove doubters wrong is to just win. Let's get on the train because we are coming. And you know what? That is, like, obviously nothing's written, right? We know that. But the construct of the team is pretty damn solid. And we can be in a good mood. I know just the Jets, we know the bottom falls out in myriad creative ways. But like Jake said a few minutes ago, dude, the season isn't here. Like, we got a couple more days. Like, enjoy it. Like, while you can, you never know. You never know what can happen. At least be happy now. Bill Burr said it on a talk show. We're asking him if he's worried about something. He's like, dude, why worry about it? If again, something happens, I'll figure it out then. I'm not going to use now worrying about something that might happen. And I love that. So right now, we got a good team. We got Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall, Sauce Gardner, Aaron Rodgers, all these guys, Quinnen Williams. Let's just be happy going into the damn season. Right, Ohio?
Embrace it.
Embrace it.
I think you talked about it before, Bean. What the one thing that I love is that it seems that, like, all that hoopla and I'm not talking from the fans. I'm talking from the team. I'm talking from the coaching staff. I'm talking from the organization. They are kind of in stealth mode right now. Like, they seem a little quiet, and they seem kind of like razor sharp focused right now. It's not like, like the hoopla of going to the Super Bowl and this and that, all that stuff that happened last year with the Hard Knocks and stuff like that. That's all past us to an extent. I like to play kind of in the middle, lurking in the middle, and just take off from there. I don't want to be the top dog and so on and so forth. It's just not how I roll.
I'm with it. We don't like being favorites. It's not a comfortable place for us.
I hate it. I hate it with a passion. I kind of feel like, what I'm saying, like, now, as if everybody wasn't already watching the Jets and hoping for their failure. Now people add another layer of Vegas saying, like, yeah, you guys are that good. You should win games, right? I don't like it. I like being the one that surprises everybody. Like, oh my God, I can't believe the Jets actually did. I like that a lot. I have not been a fan of the favorites to win the AFC East. Yeah, I haven't been a fan of the fact that we're the sixth team to win the AFC. I don't like it at all. I just want to go ahead and be left alone, leave us in the corner. We can go ahead and lash out, win some games, and then at the end of the season, people will be like, I cannot believe the Jets actually won the Super Bowl. That's what I want to happen. I don't want it to be expected.
The underdog. And I root for the underdog, just like as it's like I'm wound. If I turn on a game and it's like it's curling, right?
Yep.
And I just happen to stumble on curling and like the favorites, the national champions, and there's this like upstart. I'm like, I'm rooting for
the other. Yep, same here. I'm the same exact way.
And I'm a passionate fan all of a sudden. Come on.
Sweep.
That's how I am, dude. Now, Paula, that's funny, Paula, because I forgot. I think that's why I was doing the beard that way. My intention was to go to Santa school up in Michigan before we ended our road trip. So thank you for that. I think that definitely had something to do with it. I forgot all about that, Paula. That was a real thing I was doing. Jake Asman pointing out Country Club Connor, which look, that's become his name among Jets fans. That's a Frankie from Flatbush special, everybody. So
is Dick Chimney. Dick Chimney is taken off.
And he's got a new one. I don't know if you guys know this. His newest for this year is Sticky Stiggers. So he goes, Sticky Stiggers coming in with it. So hey, we'll see if it sticks. Yeah. We'll see. So look, we had an interesting thing happen this week. Now, I'll admit I was excited by the idea of signing a first round pick from 2022. I was like, wow, what an opportunity, especially with our defensive coaching staff. I thought it was just a great opportunity. Lewis Seen was cut from the Vikings, and the Jets were said to be signing him. And then, like a former Minnesota Viking has done, just all of a sudden out of nowhere, I made a video about it, how great I thought it was. I broke it down. This is why it's good. This is but we're the fucking best. And then all of a sudden, nope, he's going to the Buffalo Bills, which makes some sense because his former coach from college is a member of the Bills staff. So I get it, but it still sucks. Gunny, any thoughts on the Jets? Number one, just like with Anthony Barr, it was like the Jets are signing him, and then the next morning he's not. How do you feel about this one?
I think the only word is just, I'm annoyed. Right. It's not as if like Scene was going to go ahead and somehow, some way make this team better. Right. He hasn't really shown much at the NFL level. I will admit, Dom and I, BJF, we all talked about this kid. Like he was definitely somebody coming out of college I was high on. I was a fan of. Unfortunately, injury has kind of slowed him down a little bit. And if I'm not mistaken, he's played mostly on special teams, only had a handful of snaps, playing safety. So this is a guy who has all the talent in the world. Unfortunately, he hasn't been able to showcase that at the NFL level to play his position. Yeah. So I was annoyed. I was annoyed because of the fact that it's another one of those things where you give the haters an opportunity to say, like, look, it's the Jets. You guys couldn't freaking sign a practice squad guy. That was what I got from it more so than like, oh, man, we lost out on Scene. I think he made a mistake. I think coming here with this Jets defense, with this Jets coach, the one thing nobody's going to argue is the Jets coaching staff knows how to coach defense, knows how to revive careers. Going to Buffalo right now, they're a team right now that I think are just clawing at opportunities to potentially gain talent, whether it's offense and defense. And, you're going to be asked to potentially do something you might not be ready to do. So I don't know if it was the right choice for him, but again, it doesn't really matter. I think that he would have been here on our practice squad. Maybe he would have replaced Isaiah in terms of if he was injured or not. Like, I don't really see him having had a chance to really be impactful for us even in this year, but it would have been a chance for him to be part of a top 5 defense, top 3 defense I think is very, very feasible without the Reddick situation. He missed out. He gets to go to Buffalo Bills and finish third in the AFC East. That's his choice. So be it. But yeah, I was more annoyed about the fact that like it's just another way for the pundits to be like, same old Jets. Can't believe you got Anthony Barr again. So that was the frustrating part about it.
Yeah. Well, I think that like if you think of it from a higher level, the Jets and Buffalo both make great sense for a kid like that, right? Reclamation project. Have done a good job developing young defensive talent, and both of the and both of the roster constructs for us in Buffalo, parallel in the sense that there's not a lot of safety seems to be a position, especially now that Buffalo moved on from Poyer and who's the other guy that was there? Why can't I think of his name?
Edwards.
No, they were the tandem forever. Poyer and
Milano? No, Milano's a linebacker.
No.
Hyde, Micah Hyde.
Yeah, Hyde. Right.
Yeah. So, they're taking a opportunity to kind of, retool and not spend a lot of money in that room. So, right now, I think it's Hamlin and Taylor Rapp are the starting safeties there. Now, they did spend second round draft capital on Cole Bishop, who I absolutely loved as a prospect.
Yeah.
But he's been, he's been battling the injury bug a little bit. He hasn't played a lot in the spring, hurt his shoulder. So those two teams are probably good fits for him. Now, I don't like the fact, and again, because it happened to us, I don't like the fact that it was announced that we were signing him, and then all of a sudden in the 11th hour, he decided to move on to Buffalo. I don't know how that happens. I don't know if he had a change of heart. I don't know if, he got a promise from, his former college coach in something more, blah, blah, blah. So that part I don't like. The guy had a really, really bad compound leg fracture in 2 places, ligaments in the knee and the ankle all torn up. Like, there's no guarantee that he will ever live up to that first round pedigree, but it's a no risk opportunity that I think you jump all over, right?
Yeah, and it's a shame because it's like people, they're saying to me like, dude, it's a practice squad guy, relax. It's like, I don't think you understand what the opportunity was. Now, it doesn't change anything. We didn't have him in the first place, so it's not like we lost something per se, but it was an opportunity. And again, look, I made a video yesterday about, the collection of first round picks that the Jets that the Jets have on defense. I mean, when you look at it, Jermaine Johnson's a first round pick. Quinnen Williams, a first round pick. Kinlaw, we signed this year from the Niners, first round pick. Solomon Thomas, first round pick. And then you get over to the other side.
Will McDonald, first round pick. Hassan Reddick, if he should ever show up, is a first round pick. And then, like you bet, CJ Mosley, first round pick. Sauce Gardner, first round pick. It's like this is quite the serious collection. And again, it's not like they're our first round picks. Solomon Thomas, Kinlaw, Tack McKinley, first round pick. So like these are like this is really becoming a step. I mean, look, we'll see how Kinlaw and Tack McKinley work out, but I think Solomon Thomas has looked pretty damn good in his role. But it's like this is becoming a spot for those guys to come and be able to, have an opportunity to truly reclaim their career, which is just interesting. As being the Jets, that's not our calling card. They come here to die. That's what it is. So it's an interesting thing, and I think bringing him on would have been an exciting opportunity for us. Now, let me just answer a couple of questions here. Well, first, Gerbo saying, Frank, so let me tell you, he says he misses him on the tube. Frankie has agreed to join Jeremy and I for the live streams, the watch parties for each game this year. He's going to be, we did a little test in the preseason. Now, having Frankie and Dom together in the same thing, I think the nerd energy was just I couldn't overcome it. Everybody, we're talking about schemes and coverages and charting formations and
man, that's football porn for some of us, man. That is football porn for some of us.
It's good, Gunny, but I was like, guys, like I got to talk to the chat. Like I'm running I said at one point, I'm running a live stream here, guys. Like you guys are like in the office, you know what I mean? But I mean, it was great. But anyway, so Frankie has agreed to join us for the entire season. So you'll get to see him. And don't forget, Frankie has his new channel. He's kind of re-engaged with the YouTube thing. He regrets blowing up his previous channel. I don't know why he did that. He goes, yeah, that was a mistake. But he's out there. If you go to YouTube search engine and just type in Frankie from Flatbush, you'll find him. As a matter of fact, let me drop it in the chat for you.
He does have Coffee with Frankie, I think 10 a.m. on Sundays, man.
Yeah, it's a great show. Frankie, I mean, dude, I love Frankie. Why isn't it happening here? Frankie from Flatbush Jets. Football, is this him? No, this can't be him. Oh, that is him. What's that weird ass? All right, well, here it is. I'm going to drop it in the chat. Weird picture. I was looking for a different one. But go ahead, support Frankie. So he's back around, everybody. I feel the same way, Gerbo. He's a truly great one to have around. I thoroughly enjoy him. David Hall saying, bar Cousins and scenes. Don't forget, though, Cousins never agreed to come here. McCagnon was just throwing money around and he used it to get some more money out of it. But he was never coming here. We had no receivers, no offensive line. It was just not happening. But Anthony Barr, POS, seen a little bit less. But
wasn't there a defensive back that did the same thing from Minnesota?
Who is it?
Cornerback. I can't remember his name.
Who is it? That son of a bitch. And somebody asked me how high was I when I went to Santa School. Two things. Number one is I didn't actually go to Santa School. I was gonna. And then the other thing is I haven't been high in a long time, many, many years. So the answer would be not high at all. And then, but the other thing is I didn't go, which is a trait of somebody who's high. I'm coming. I'll be there at 6. And then they never hear from me again.
Disappeared. Missing.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's Gunny saying. Yeah, Gunny loves Frankie too.
Yeah, I love Frankie.
Frankie's the real deal. Indy loves him. Everybody loves him. Harlan loves him. So yeah, go ahead, click that link. Give Frankie a little love, man. He could use it. Again, he blew up his channel. You know, that's why you never make finite decisions about temporary situations, right? You just leave it. Leave the channel out there. But yeah, Chris Bradigan for Coffee with Frankie is back. So he'll be doing that and then jumping on the streams with us, with Jeremy and I. And we have a good time. If you haven't checked out our live watch parties, like we have a blast, man. We're, as you guys know, we're real fans and we lose our marbles. And the chats are crazy. I mean, it's a good time. So I invite all of you to come and join us. O'Leary and Ryan join us every halftime. It's a great time. And you're all welcome. What else do we have? Ohio says, thanks for the clarity. What, on not being high for the Santa school? Is that what it was?
We didn't talk about GreenBean. Why don't you talk to us about keeping all three of the UDFA defensive guys?
Let me just tell you, I am tickled.
Yeah, isn't it nice to see something that, you know, we all liked and wanted and might have been a little bit of a stretch actually come to fruition, right?
Well, you know what's interesting about it, Dom, is that last year the Jets kept two undrafted free agents on the offensive side of the ball in Jason Brownlee and Gibson. And that was after we also had Irv Charles, who was an undrafted free agent the year before. So the way I looked at it was three young undrafted free agent wide receivers. And I didn't like that. Now, the way that they did it on Hard Knocks and all, it was nice and everybody was crying and that's great. But I didn't like it, right? Now, this Braden McGregor, LT3, and then I guess you're talking about Tack McKinley, the Reclamation Project.
Watts.
Well, yeah, that's right. Watts. Well, Watts only made it because Reddick isn't there, in my opinion. I mean, who knows? But that's what I see. But I have to say, I was really hoping that Braden McGregor and LT3 made it. I thought they did a little bit more in the preseason and training camp of worth, earning an actual 53-man roster spot. But it's like, guys, I tell you this all the time, and I really believe this. It's one thing to have, depth pieces and, you have a vet. He's a 7-year vet and he's just filling in, he's your third defensive tackle in the rotation, and that's like, okay, well, he's solid or whatever. But optimally, best case scenario is when you can get equal output, but from a young guy who is still able to be developed into more upside, right? Has more upside. So guys like LT3 and Braden McGregor being that, filling in those final roster spots for the rotation, I think is just the best case scenario. Because again, we just talked about it. Look what's in front of them. We have 7 first-round picks if Reddick shows up. 7 first-round picks. And then you look behind them. I mean, Michael Clemens is a 4th. But who else? It's everybody. They're all first-round picks with Michael Clemens, and then you got a couple undrafted free agents that are worthy of developing as the final pieces. I think that's just a very exciting proposition. We talked about it beforehand. I was really hoping, but if I was being completely honest, I thought it was somewhat of a long shot that, that all of those guys would make it. So I think it's best case scenario. I think they honestly earned it. And I think it's a good situation. How'd you feel about it, Dom?
I good. Like, for all the jabs that Joe Douglas takes and listen, he's deserved them. Some of them have been well deserved. I think sometimes, I personally think sometimes people are a little too hard on some of the things like his record and so on and so forth. Like people talk about the record of Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh and so on and so forth. Listen, I think Joe Douglas, when he was brought in and given a 6-year contract, they knew that it was going to get ugly at first because he had a lot of house cleaning. He took this thing down to the studs, right? But as constituted right now, 34 of our 53 guys are homegrown. You know, that's 64% of our team is built from, you know, organically. That's a pretty good number. I think Tampa Bay leads the league. I think they have like 47 of the 53 are built from either the draft or guys that they've brought in as undrafted free agents, which is a crazy amount. But, you know, building this roster the way that we all, you know, had heard that Joe Douglas could, you know, like what his forte was and so on and so forth, he's doing it. The timeline has been a little bit elongated, and I think a lot of that stems from missing on number 2, you know, back in you know 2020 or 2021, whenever Zach was drafted. I think that probably elongated the process, and then 4 plays into the season last year, you know, that, you know, if we had comparable quarterback play in the Zach years and we had 10 more wins, I think we'd be up to building that bronze statue for Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh again. You know what I mean? So I'm happy to see it. Like I said, I really like the upside of Braden McGregor. He was one of my favorite studies. I think he plays like an NFL player. You know, he's heady, he's got the size, he's got the length. You know, is he going to contribute right away? No, but I think that there's a place for him in the NFL, and I think there's a place for him on the team. Leonard Taylor, I'm still kind of like this, but, you know, just the situation of what his skill set is in that interior defensive tackle room with 2 guys that are on 1-year deals, 3 guys with Lecky Fotu on 1-year deals. Like, the opportunity for him to really develop and be a part of the future is really high if they can, you know, kind of get the head to match up with the talent. And then, you know, Eric Watts was the one that, you know, he buzzed early on, and then he just got quiet. I think the other 2 guys kind of overtook him in the pecking order. But I love to see. I love to see it. Like you said, you know, the getting these guys and let them develop, especially on the defensive side of the ball, where White Cotton and Ulbrich and Mark Manuel and Tony Oden can really develop and get the best out of these guys, really, really develop them. I mean, the situation is perfect for these guys to come in and maybe, if not this year, maybe in years to come, play a part, even if it's a role. You know, maybe one of them takes over Michael Clemens' role, you know, next year. Maybe one of them, you know, takes over for, you know, Hassan Reddick when he's gone. You know, maybe that's the Braden McGregor role 2 years from now. Who knows?
You know, it's interesting you bring up Clemens, because I think a lot of Jets fans are down on him, right? And I think when you look at things just from a box score, so to speak, perspective, I think there's reason, right? Especially when we lost a couple guys and, in JFM, Bryce Huff, and you're kind of asking this guy to fill in. And I think a lot of Jets fans just don't feel all that confident. We've heard Ulbricht come out and talk about the job that he feels he's doing. And then in Joe Douglas's press conference today, he talked about Michael Clemens in a positive way. So I think the Jets are much higher on Michael Clemens than a lot of Jets fans. Now, I've defended him, but even with that defense, I don't want to get it misconstrued. I am not one who's like, just wait, this guy's going to get, 12 sacks and 49 tackles, 15 tackles for. I'm not necessarily saying that. I just think he's much more solid than we're giving him credit for. And I think one of the aspects that a lot of Jets fans are not considering with Michael Clemens is that he was a 4th round rookie. He came in, he played a very low percentage for us, but had a pretty solid rookie year. And then they asked him to gain a bunch of weight. I think it was 20 plus pounds, and to move inside, which is a different position. He gained the weight, no problem. They didn't really move him inside, so he's a slower defensive end now. And then this year they asked him to lose the weight and admitted it was a mistake. And he's, you're not hearing anything from him. He's, you're not hearing any complaints, any whining, or he's just doing it because it's the team's request. And I think that's something that shouldn't go overlooked. Again, it doesn't matter if there's no production on the field. Who gives a shit? It's like, yeah, I asked him to paint my house and he just did it. It's like doesn't matter. It's nice and all, but if his play on the field if it's not productive, then it doesn't matter. But I think team players are of value, and he does bring the violence. We do need to kind of tone down that chasing dudes into the tunnel and those kinds of behaviors. But I think the Jets are higher on him than a lot of Jets fans. And I think it's probably with merit. So let's give the guy a chance. Gunny, how you feeling about Michael Clemens? Are you kind of on the outside of things and you a little tentative, or are you a little bit more confident than maybe some others?
Personally, I'm over the Michael Clemens experiment. I think that Michael Clemens, when he first came on the Jets, we didn't have a lot of talent. You know what I'm saying? We were starving for talent. He was a personality, a guy that did extremely well at Texas A&M, but then you kind of look back and you realize he was a grown man playing against kids, and maybe that might have had a benefit as to why he did so well in Texas A&M. And the whole time you're just kind of hoping that he's going to go ahead and find an opportunity to go ahead and take advantage of his physical gifts to operate at that high level in the NFL. But let's be honest, man, this dude's been all bark, no bite, right? He's been a fun story. Love him showing up, you know what I'm saying, with the bat and everything at training camp. It's funny watching him go ahead and curse out the opposing freaking fan base. But ultimately, it's about production, and we haven't gotten that from Clemens. So for me, I was definitely team drop him and keep, you know what I'm saying, one of these potential undrafted free agents to replace him. We wound up keeping all of these guys, Watts, freaking Taylor, McGregor. I was very, very excited about it personally. I didn't think we would do that, but I love the fact that this coaching staff realized what they got, potentially some stud nuggets that nobody else was looking at. I mean, they're just trying to go ahead and replicate the whole Huff experience, but with three individuals who have shown us some significant talent in the preseason. Listen, when freaking Reddick comes back, if he comes back, whether he does or not, I'm at this point where I don't even care anymore. I think Clemens is the man that you wind up making the decision of saying, like, hey, buddy, we're going to let you go. Because I think wholeheartedly he'll be.
Really?
Yeah. I want to see what Eric Watts can do for us.
Wait, who did you say you were going to let go? I'm sorry, I missed that.
Clemens.
Okay.
And then I think he can come back on the practice squad. I don't think he's going to get claimed. I don't think anyone's going to look at Clemens and think, oh, man, that's the dude. We've got to make space for him, the 53-man roster of our team, to bring on board. I think Clemens at this point, man, like, you let him go. You love him so much. Cool. He can be in the practice squad. At this point, this roster is significantly talented. We don't need to be begging or hoping or praying somebody figures it out. And I think Clemens kind of fell off in regards to what we were hoping he could be. But maybe, just maybe, the reason why he was so dominant in college was because he was a grown man playing against kids.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what it was.
I think that's a fair point. You got to remember he was a 25-year-old rookie when he came out. He's always going to be a one contract guy. It's probably not a guy that you're going to bring back or sign to a second contract. All right. But I think this year, I think the importance of somebody like Michael Clemens, whether it's him or one of these other guys that steps into the role, is really filling that JFM role on the strong side of the defensive line, really setting the edge, being a force against the rush. Against the run. His pass rush bag is never one that's going to parallel, J.J. Watt or Bryce Huff or Will McDonald for that matter. That's just not his game. His game is really being, setting the tone, playing physical, which is something that the Jets and Robert Saleh really, have been emphasizing: violence, physicality, and being a strong presence on the strong side of the edge line. We don't have, I think that's going to be the one piece that is most sought after from last year's defense is really that run stuffer on the end of the line. I think that we'll make do with Huff's production. I think that can be picked up. I'm really, I'm really bullish on Will McDonald still. I think if Son Reddick gets in here, we won't miss the 10, 11 sacks that Huff had. What we will miss is someone who's, really dominant against the run on the end. And I'm hoping that's where Michael Clemens can come in and play.
Where his value comes in. Now,
Correct.
I want to just point out that our good friend Matt O'Leary is here, agreeing with Gunny. Now, I'm not saying
that's
that
my
Matt
guy.
I'm not saying that Matt can't agree with Gunny. Gunny is a very, very astute football mind, and we respect and love Gunny. But I'm going to tell you, this comment has nothing to do with Gunny. Matt O'Leary is fucking with me, and that's what he's doing. That's what he's really doing. That's the motivation. I want you to know, dude, I'm a therapist at heart. I see past this baloney. Matt O'Leary, I'm going to label Matt right now. He's the number one. He's the president of the anti-Michael Clemens fan club. And I've had it with this guy. I've had it. Now, I see a lot of, look, they're not alone. Italy Jet, some others are in the chat agreeing with you as well, Gunny. Here's the thing. I don't think there's enough on either side to be out on Michael. If you don't like his antics, okay, that's fine. And last year it was disappointing. But again, like Gunny, you've said on many occasions when we talk about the Aaron Rodgers dip in 2022, you talk about the broken thumb. You talk about the change in offensive coordinator. You talk about losing Devontae Adams. You talk about the rookie wide receivers. And even with that crop, they were injured all the time. Like Lazard ended up being wide receiver one. You talk about that all the time. And I think rightfully so. Why can't we give Clemens a little bit of a, no, he's not Aaron Rodgers, right? I understand. But why can't he gained 20 plus pounds and was supposed to move inside as an experiment? They never did it. And then they ask him to lose the weight now, and he's doing all this. Why can't we factor that into and to give him a, somewhat of a mulligan for 1 year? Why can't we do that?
I think that simply put, the reason is this, right? This isn't the New York Jets freaking of old where we needed to beg and pray and hope somebody's going to live up to expectations. Our defensive line is literally stacked. It's stacked. And if you don't meet the metrics, if you're not living up to par, hey, sorry, man, we tried this out. It didn't work out. Go to the practice squad. I think Watts, we don't know what he can be. I think, in fact, that I think we kind of know what Clemens' ceiling is, right? Like his rookie season might be his ceiling, right? He's going to be a great run defender. He's not getting after the quarterback very much. He'll help you out on special teams. So knowing that, if Watts can do that, be younger, and potentially show another layer, another ceiling he can go and kind of break through, that's where I'm at with it, man. I look at this defensive line, and it's the one position, well, the second position group that I look at, I'm like, I make no excuses for anybody on the D-line. Either you're worth a spot on this D-line or you don't. And I just think that Clemens at this point, he just hasn't shown us enough to where we're going to go die on a hill for Clemens to be, saying the last defensive lineman we keep on the D-line. So, I mean, again, I'm no Salah, I'm no Ulbrich. And the one thing I've been very adamant about is I will refuse to question what those guys do when it comes to defense.
Yeah, right.
Because they have crushed that. But if I'm the GM or if I'm in that room and they're asking, hey, Reddick is coming back, man, we got to get rid of somebody, I'm going to say, hey, Clemens, it's been real. We can go ahead and cut him. I guarantee you he'll be on the practice squad. I don't see him getting picked up. If Ulbrich loves him so much, cool. You get your boy back in the practice squad. But I think in terms of a slot on the defensive line that's going to be an impact player, yeah, I think he's the guy that I would look at and be like, yeah, you're disposable. You're disposable.
All right, we're going to talk about this for just a brief second, okay? We're going to fucking do this. Hold on. I'm going to pull this up. Now, I know there are, there's all kinds of stuff, pressures, but let's just get to the raw stats here. So we got JFM, who is, I think, the closest player when you look at Huff, the closest guy that Michael Clemens could be asked to replace, is JFM over Bryce Huff. So last year, let's just look at this. So last year, JFM played 55% of the snaps. 627 plays. And he had 3.5 sacks. He had 33 tackles, 15 of which were solo, 6 tackles for a loss, 14 quarterback hits, okay, with 55%. So you got Michael Clemens. He plays 35%, which is just about 300 less plays, 368 or whatever the hell it was. And he got 27 tackles, 14 of which were solo, 2 tackles for a loss, half a sack. So like he's playing 20% less. And again, with the 20 pounds and all the stuff that you factor in, and it's not significantly different as far as now. JFM had the 50 pressures. Michael Clemens had 8. So there's a big difference there. But as far as like what they did on the field, it's not, the difference isn't that wide. And it, again, they didn't ask JFM to gain 20 pounds and to do all. So it just, to me, it just seems like this guy, even though he's on the older side, I think that we could be a little bit surprised with, when we see him, getting a little bit more of the rotation, the percentage that is, I think we could see a little bit more. The numbers aren't all that different. They're comparable even with 20% less snaps. So I don't know, man. I don't know. I think, look, and Joe Douglas talked about him today. I'm really hoping, and I think like what Dom said, I think what we're really looking, and you might have said it too, Gunny, I think what we're really looking at is a guy that's more of a running down defensive end. He can get you a little bit in the passing, pass rush side, but that's not his game. He's there to rough up the tackle on the running plays and just to kind of help stiffen up our line. I think that he's going to do a good job this year. I'm excited. But your point about the line is stacked. So like, we don't need to make excuses for guys. So I'm with that. At the same time, I just think we're a little bit harsher on Clemens than we need to be. Now, Frankie, I want to tell you, I see Frankie from Flatbush in here. Look at this picture. What the fuck is that? Frankie, go back to your other picture.
Mike McDaniel, man.
I was about to ask, is that McDaniel?
I think it's Mike McDaniel.
No, that's
it
not.
Looks
Mike
like it.
McDaniel. That's somebody from the 70s. Frankie, and they're in Brooklyn. I know what Frankie's trying to do. At least I made it up, and I think I know. But I like your other picture, Frankie. I don't like it. It's hard to find you. I don't understand. I want you to go back to something we can recognize, especially as you're trying to build the channel. So please, for us, cut the shit and get back to the Frankie from Flatbush look that we all love. Tired of it. Here we go. Matt O'Leary says, I kid. I hope he's good enough to come in and replace JFM. That'll mean the Jets are. I know. And look, and when it all boils down, that's where we all live, right? Like, I don't give 2 shits. It's like when, what's his name? Javelin Guidry was out there. Like, I watched so much more Javelin Guidry tape than I should have, quite frankly. And I just didn't like him. He's super fast, but he's on the Jets and they got him on the field. You think I want to be right more than I want this guy to be great? No. Like, and then he had that really great open field tackle of Derrick Henry all alone. Little tiny Guidry just scooped the legs and took down Derrick Henry all by himself. I cheered like nobody's business. And that's where we all live in reality. We just want people that are going to wear Jets helmets and be on the field to actually be good and productive. And that's the baseline. So
ultimately,
go ahead, Gunny. Go ahead.
No, I was agreeing with you. Ultimately, if you're a Jet, you're a Jet. If you're a Jets fan, you root for everybody that rocks our colors. I'm 100% on board with that. I just look at it and I'm like, in terms of if he were to get cut to make room for Reddick, I don't think we're missing out. If I'm being honest, I think the defensive line actually gets better in that case. But no, if he's there, I hope he becomes freaking the next Max Crosby. I want him to be the next Max. I want him to excel. But I just feel like he's 27 years old right now. I mean, it's 3.5 sacks. I think it's his career total right now. Like there's just a lot more question marks about what he brings to the table. And you start to get to a point where you're like, man, can he develop to be more at this point? Whereas you got a bunch of young guys, you can go ahead and really kind of invest more time and energy in because you're hoping to expand their ceiling.
Right. Here's my prediction for Michael Clemens. Matt O'Leary, I hope you're listening. Michael Clemens is going to play 54% of the snaps this year. He is going to get 51 tackles, 12 tackles for a loss, and 8 sacks. Yeah, you heard it here first. All right. That's right. I'm committing to the Michael Clemens thing. We'll see.
GreenBean, that is called clickbait. That is called clickbait if I ever heard it.
That is called drinking green Kool-Aid, Gunny. That's what that shit is.
Man, you guys just missed the craziest interception in the Colorado game. I don't know if you're watching it at all.
I'm not watching it. That game is on, isn't it?
Yeah.
I got all the games on. It's crazy.
Shedeur Sanders inside the 10-yard line throws a ball, and it's a little low, and there's a defender with his back to Shedeur Sanders who dives. The ball hits the guy's cleat, kicks right up into the hands of a defensive player.
Get the hell out of here.
It's crazy. I'm going to tag you in this, Gunny, so you can see it on on Twitter.
All right. With that all said, we're going to wrap this show up on this comment right here from Sweet Baby Jesus. Clemens is a monster. There it is. Thank you, Jesus. See, Sweet Baby Jesus is coming in talking about it. You know it's true. But that's our show. I want to thank Jake Asman for coming and hanging out with us. Of course, Dom C and Gunny, two of the absolute best. I'm honored to share the stream with them. What?
I said, oh man, that's kind words. We're the ones who are honored to be here.
Yeah, we appreciate you, GreenBean. We appreciate you. I'm
touched. Yeah, I'm leaving my job next week. Next Friday is my last day, and they're talking about doing a whole thing with P. And I said, look, I don't need anything. And they're like, no, we want to celebrate you. And I'm like, that's why I don't want to do it. Cause I'm a softie, dude. I cry. That's what I do. So anyway, you guys are going to make me cry. Either way, I think the respect is mutual. The appreciation is sincere. And this is great. I also appreciate everybody in the chat. You guys are just the shit. I couldn't thank you more from the bottom of my heart for hanging out with us. I will say, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, now is a perfect time to do so. It is greatly appreciated. If you haven't smashed that like button, the old milk thumbs, you can do that too. We got up to 207. There's a few of you in here that have not done it. It would be appreciated if you did. And don't forget the Dom C link, the Gunny link, Frankie's link, Tigo's link, Jeremy's link, the crew. They're all in there in the description of the video too. If you're looking for a way to support the guys, Talking Jets ticket buy. We have single-digit tickets left for the Denver game, September 29th. It's going to be an amazing time with Tailgate Joe, on-field access, 40-yard line, upper-level tickets. It's going to be amazing. If you want to go, you got to get on it because we're running out. With that all said, Gunny, you got anything special that you want to tell anybody about? You doing a Christmas show?
I mean, probably. I haven't figured that part out yet. You know what I'm saying? A few months away before we get to that point. But you can go ahead and catch me, Dom, and the rest of the New York Jets Situation Report Fantasy Football League doing our draft on Tuesday. We're going to be live on the Hangar Hangout. You're going to go ahead and see the plethora of coaches doing their draft live. We're going to go ahead and take calls, your criticisms, what we could have done better. So go ahead and go to New York Jets Situation Report. Catch us on Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Central so we can go ahead and make fun of us or tell us how great we did in terms of who we draft in our league.
That's a good idea, doing that live. I actually like that idea. We did the Beanbaggers last night. It was not live. It was live with us. We all get on a Zoom room. Yeah. And we had a good time. But I think that's going to be fun to observe you guys making all those mistakes that you're going to make.
All the mistakes are coming.
You know it. Everybody's going to be judgy as hell, man. Dom, what do you got, buddy?
Monday night's Talking Jets with Ryan, this Monday we'll start our series. So we're 1 week out from the game. So we are bringing in a content creator and insider from every team that we're going to be facing to kind of preview the game. So this week I'm really excited. We're bringing in Steph Sanchez, someone who I met down in Mobile a couple years ago. She does a really, really good job. She's, got a couple podcasts. She's as tuned in to the Niners as, as they are. So she's going to come in and we're going to break down the game and the matchups and talk, talk a little bit of football. We're a week away. We will be a week away. So that's going on Mondays, and that's about it right now.
Amazing. So I want to thank Mitt Flair for becoming the newest Stream Beaner. Enjoy your emojis and free super chats. Mitt, you've been an incredible support over the years, so I'm very grateful for you. So thank you for joining the channel. And with that all said, I want to say hi to Rusty Spooner too. I didn't say hi yet. So hello, Rusty. I see you, dude. Rusty, one of the greats. So guys, that's our show. And we will see you. Let's play this version of it. We'll see you next time, everybody. Have a great night.
Yeah, here we come, baby. Here we come. Here come the Jets, baby. I want to kiss you.
Thanks, Joe.
You want to run or you want to duck down? You want to duck, just go over and get onto the bench and stay there.
You play to win the game.
My message for the fans, we're all frustrated with where we are right now.
Jets, Jets.
And I forgot to remind you about the BetUS link that's right in the description of this video. Do not forget to support our sponsor for the show. It helps the channel and it will help you by getting 125% deposit bonus on your first 3 deposits up to $2,000. BetUS, America's favorite sports book. Thank you, BetUS. Have a great